Hi there, this is Stan Winchester again. This is the fourth video in my series. I'm going to be talking about the struggle. When I have noticed over the years when people join the church, um, there's a special glow about them, and the spirit is so strong with them. And I felt exactly the same way. I've heard some members call it Mormon soap, but like soap, it can get washed off, and I kind of experienced that. I went through a lot of struggles. In fact, some of the first struggles was with my job. I worked as I don't know what they call them these days, but we were called box boys back then, where basically I sacked groceries for uh, the checker. In this case, it was my mom. It was the grocery store where she worked, and there were, they probably had, I don't know, 7, 8 check stands, and I was one of the box boys, and it was great. I loved to work there. When I joined the church, the store manager uh, required that I work Sundays, and I used to like to work Sundays because we got time and 6/10 pay, so it was a little bit extra money. But in wanting to keep the Sabbath day holy, I didn't want to work Sundays, and it created a real problem because he wasn't going to let me have Sundays off, and so I ended up a ward member um, offered me a job. He had a little factory, an assembly factory, and I worked for him. And it was one of those. It was a really interesting experience because um, while he was a faithful member of the church, he was not an easy person to work for. And I got fired 5 or 6 times from him, and it was because I was making his assembly process more efficient. We went from manufacturing his product, it was taking roughly 1.5 hours, I believe, 1.5 man hours to produce, to do the final assembly. And after a year, I got it down to 15 minutes. And he fired me because I would spend time trying to make templates and other things to help make manufacturing more efficient. It's one of the talents the Lord has given me. My mind is, I think along engineering lines, and I love to see how things work, and and I think that's part of the reason why understanding the atonement of the Savior is why it was so important to me when I was young, and we'll be talking about that more when I'm on my mission, which is coming soon. And so he ended up firing me, like I say, 5 or 6 times, and the last time I just kept walking because I'd found a new job. And unfortunately, it was working in a grocery store again, and it was a group of kids that were the other box boys and other people who didn't have the same values that you know as we do as a church, and as some of my other struggles appeared, it they quickly took me in. Let's just say that. Going back to talking about home a little bit, I described it as a war zone, and for good reason. My dad he had a bad back, and he was always in a lot of pain. He was always on a lot of pain medications, and he was always depressed. Except it seemed when we were in public around other people, he could be very sociable. But at home, he would often sit at the kitchen table. He'd have his head in his hands and just looking down, And when my sisters, myself, or even my mom, when we saw it like that, we realized that we had to walk on eggshells. That he was a volcano that was ready to erupt, and we never know what state whether the volcano was dormant or whether it was, what was going to happen, because when he blew, he blew hard. And I'll be honest, because the abuse didn't stop when we joined the church, and we've often wondered about that, and like my dad must have not told the truth when he was interviewed for baptism. It's the only thing we can surmise. But I loved church. I liked going to school. I had a lot of friends at school. I loved school. And I wasn't a very good student, but I loved school. I loved the social aspects of it. I've always had the ability to make friends and keep friends and have fun, and it was great. I loved it. And work was, okay, because I was still working for that ward member at the time. And it was only, I got that other job, like I say, I joined the church when I was a junior in high school. It was in January, and so I worked for that member all through my junior year, the summer, and then into my senior year. I had as I mentioned, the struggle started, and I had a lot of guilt. I was trying to live the commandments, but I was struggling. I was struggling with some things, and I found I went through like about a 3-month cyclical cycle. It seemed like. Well, I guess that's kind of redundant, but I would go to church for about 3 months, feel great, and then I would slip up, make some mistakes, and I wouldn't go to church for 3 months. And I started this pattern of quitting, and it took me a long time to overcome that, and I'll eventually get to that. And I go talk to my bishop. I feel this tug at me, like I need to come back. And so I talked to my bishop, and he'd work with me, and everything was good. And about 3 months later, I'd slip up and fall away again. And this happened several times, quite a few times actually. And during this, I shared earlier about this service project of painting a greenhouse. Well, part of that, because we were raising money to go to the Oakland Temple. In order to go to the temple, we're supposed to be clean, and I wasn't. And I remember in the interview, they were asking questions, and I'll be honest, I didn't fully understand the questions. Being a brand new member of the church, I didn't understand some of the terminology. And so I said, yeah, I'm good. And knowing that I wasn't. And I thought, got through that. So we're getting ready to go on this temple trip. And the morning that we're supposed to get on the buses, I'm mowing the lawn, and we've got 6 walnut trees, and I was out by one of the walnut trees mowing the lawn, and when on the edge where the trees are, the grass grows a bit taller, and so I needed to adjust the wheels to account for the height, and I'd done this many times with these old lawnmowers, these old gas-driven lawnmowers. Back in the 70s, they had no safety features whatsoever. It was like the motor was on or off, and that was it. There was no safety features. And I'd done it a million times before, where I would raise and lower the wheels on the mower without shutting the engine off. I knew where the safe places were to put my hands to be able to do it, and I did it. I had done it a lot of times, except for this time. That time, these 2 fingers managed to get hit by the blade, and I lost. I don't know if I can show this or not well enough, but there, you probably can't see in the camera very well, but these two fingers have had 120 stitches put in them because I lost probably a little more than an eighth of an inch on this one, and maybe not that much on this one, and it hurt. It hurt, and I wasn't able to go on the temple trip. I missed the bus. I was in the hospital getting, I was having surgery, and yeah, but all is not lost because my Uncle Leo came to visit us. I received my first priesthood blessing, other than being confirmed a member of the church. I was told in the blessing that I would regain full use of my fingers, my hands. The doctors had told me I might end up losing them at the knuckle. There was so much damage done. And they said they may have to take them at the knuckle. And I still got them. I still got them. The neat thing about it is that there were really two important lessons from that. One is that I learned there's power in the priesthood because I still got them, I was able to play football. I was able to do a lot of things. Now, mind you, they were tender for a long time, and it was a little bit harder to like to throw a ball or to do some of the things I used to do. But I consider it a great blessing because these are a visual reminder that it's important that we enter the house of the Lord clean. It's a visual reminder that, like, I don't know whether the Lord caused this to happen. I don't believe that He did, but maybe had I been clean, I might have received a prompting or a warning. I don't know. I can't answer that question. But I do know is that I lied, and I do know that I cut my fingers. And because of that, I now have to live with this for the rest of my life. And I consider these a blessing because they are a reminder. They're a reminder for me to keep myself clean, to do the Lord's will. Well, during one of those periods of my cyclical in and out of the church, there was a family in the Word that had taken in a foster girl. She was really cute. I really liked her, and she liked me. She wasn't a member of the church, and she didn't have the same standards of the church. And to make a long story short, she pulled on me in ways that probably shouldn't have been pulled, because they were away from the church, away from the principles that I was being taught, that I knew to be true. And but again, there was a blessing that came out of this. Well, actually, she ended up dumping me once, and then she wanted me back, and I came back to her, and then when I said, no, I can't, I'm not going, I have to live true to myself. And I did. And I remember the day just as clear as I can see out the window and see the sky. I remember, actually I had a 1938 Chev coupe, sweet little car, black sport coupe with red pinstripes and white walls, 6-cylinder 3-speed, just a fun little car. I loved it. It was all original. But I remember we were sitting in that car. We only had a front seat, and I told her, I said, I'm sorry, no. And she dumped me. She dumped me again. It kind of crushed me because, well, it did. It hurt. And but I had made the right choice, and I have never regretted that. This girl really hurt me, and she became a benchmark for me. I realized that while she was a good person, a nice person, very popular, very fun, but she was not the kind of girl that I could take to the temple. And so I knew that. And this comes into play later on down the road, because I needed this benchmark, and I remembered it. So by this time I've cleaned up my act, and I've always wanted to be good. I just was never very strong. I didn't know how to solve problems. Remember, my dad said, "You don't know what problems are. Wait till you grow up." Well, I was growing up, and I didn't know how to solve problems. Excuse me. I ended up going to Ricks College, which is now BYU, Idaho. I went there when President Henry B. Eyring was the president of the church, of the college. It was a wonderful experience. I only went for one semester. Again, I wasn't a very good student. The classes, the things that I excelled in, I did great. Physics and math, did great. In fact, hardly even had to open a textbook and got good grades. I loved it. It was easy. And the classes I didn't like, I never applied myself. I didn't know how, and so I didn't get good grades. And but while I was there, two important things happened. I met my second benchmark. Her name was Cheryl. A sweet, wonderful, beautiful girl, young woman. And she became my benchmark for what I wanted one day. I wanted a young woman like her to take to the house of the Lord. I'll be able to share that story with you later, how I did find my girl. The other thing that happened while I was at Rick's is I decided to serve a mission. It was a hard decision because I was really conflicted. There was, if you talk about a mission, that's all they ever talk to you about. And I wasn't sure I wanted to go. But I did want to go. There was that conflict in me still. And I decided to go to serve a mission. So I did enroll to return to Rick's for the spring, for the winter spring semester, and decided to return to Oregon and prepare to serve a mission. In the next video, I'll be talking about my mission. Thank you for watching, and I hope that you're enjoying these videos. I'm hoping that my story strengthens you in the gospel of Jesus Christ, because He is the way, the truth, and the life. No man cometh unto the Father except by Him. I know that is true. But until next time, goodbye.